Hello, everyone. Welcome to our town hall meeting at North LA County Regional Center. Um, we're going to explain a little bit how it's going to go. We thought it was important to remind everyone of our mission and our values. Then we're going to have our guest speaker presentation. After that, I'll be providing some information about myself and LGBTQ plus resources. And then lastly, we'll end with our question and answer session, okay? I'm going to go ahead and start the presentation if that's okay with everyone. All right. So once again, welcome to our town hall meeting. I'm going to go over our mission statement for you guys, just as a reminder. Our mission, what we do, and for whom. North Los Angeles County Regional Center's mission is to create a community, including families, where each individual with a developmental disability has the opportunity to live a healthy, productive, and inclusive life. Next, I'll go over our values. Our values are to promote dignity and respect, inclusion and belonging, equity, empowerment, creativity, and innovation. I'll give a little more details about our values. With dignity and respect, we recognize that all people have the right to be treated in a humane and ethical way. With inclusion and belonging, we strive for inclusion of individuals with developmental disabilities and families in all aspects of daily life and for a culture of belonging within our organization. Now, for equity, we recognize each person has different circumstances and needs, and we believe in equal opportunities to access services, participation in employment, participation in the community, also equal opportunities for members of diverse communities to acquire employment with the center, partner with the center in business, and equal opportunities for staff to professionally develop and advance in the organization. With empowerment, we believe in educating and advocating with our community to make informed decisions about their lives, securing the services they need to achieve their goals, and to protect their rights. With creativity and innovation, we will have the courage to nurture original ideas, be creative in finding solutions, embrace the use of cutting-edge research and knowledge, and practice flexibility. Now, in order to continue to promote our mission and values, we have our guest speaker, Arkaz Vardanian. I'll give you some information about him as well. So once again, our guest speaker is Arkaz Vardanian. He is the program supervisor of Trans Lounge at Los Angeles LGBT Center. His contact information is listed for your convenience here. And just to tell you a little bit about Arkaz, he listens to metal music, hikes with his fiance and best friend, and plays tabletop role-playing games. He is an autistic transgender man that loves to work for his community and show pride in himself. So I'm going to go, Arkaz is going to talk about the following topics: self-discovery and support, and self-care for LGBT consumers and their caregivers. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Arkaz. All right, Arkaz, you can take it away.
Thank you, Javier. So hi, everyone. My name is Arkaz Vardanian. And yes, that's correct. I work at the Los Angeles LGBT Center. At the Trans Lounge, all of our clients are transgender, but I don't want to talk too much about what I do over there. I just want to talk about the topics that that Javier just brought up just now. And just to quickly say for the webinar and for the people here right now, as a transgender man, what that means is this is someone who is assigned female at birth, like the baby comes out and the doctor says that this baby is female, but then that person now identifies as male and lives as a man. So I'm a transgender man, so I live my everyday life as a man. So that's what that means. But moving forward with the topics, I want to talk about what we can do for ourselves to help ourselves when the world around us doesn't seem fair or isn't fair, and when it's hard to find help and how to help ourselves in those tough moments, because that happens a lot for our LGBT consumers, our lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender consumers, and also for those that take care uh, of them as well. So something that I wanted to mention is something that can be difficult is being true to yourself. This is just, what you want to express to the world, and then also how you treat yourself, who you actually are on the inside. And a lot of people, I think, feel like you can't always be your true self. So it's not just LGBT people and people with disabilities. It's, a lot of caregivers sometimes feel like, well, I can't be my true self at work. I can't be my true self, in front of certain people. So that can be a very challenging thing too. So LGBT people and disabled people, me as an autistic person, I like to say disabled, you can say whatever you want. We are often looked at by everyone else with negativity and prejudice. So it's important to grow a positive self-image and have self-compassion. And I'll explain what that means. So that means like being nice to yourself when you feel not good enough, or when you feel like you failed at something, or when you feel suffering. So, for example, when you make a mistake, because we make mistakes all the time, and your friends make mistakes, and your family members make mistakes, or your if you have a kid, your kids make mistakes. But if your friend makes a mistake, you wouldn't call them an idiot if they make a mistake, because that would make them feel bad. But a lot of times when you make a mistake, you might think bad things about yourself. You might say, "Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I burned food, or I dropped something, or whatever," and things like that. And those things pile up on top of ourselves. And something that can be very helpful for anyone, but especially for someone who has a disability, for someone who is LGBT, and for the people who care for us, is remembering to treat ourselves like we are our own best friend. If we think, I'm an idiot, then just be like, no, wait a minute. I'm not an idiot. I just made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. I can just try again next time. It's okay. I just burnt food. It's fine. Everyone does stuff like that. That happens all the time. And that's called self-compassion. It's, treating yourself like you are your own best friend, because you wouldn't treat your best friend poorly. So you don't want to do that to yourself either. But it takes practice. So that's the important thing. And that's one of the tools for overcoming um, challenges in life. And another thing I wanted to mention was like self-image. So a lot of times um, we kind of have a negative self-image, and this one is really, really hard to get over. Me being transgender, that is very common. Transgender people having a negative self-image for different reasons. A lot of LGBT people have a negative self-image. A lot of disabled people have a negative self-image. So something that can help is, like, for example, some things we try to look in the mirror and say, okay, a lot of things I see, I often say negative things about the things I see. But what are some neutral things I can say about the things I see? For example, I have a beard, and so I get sometimes pimples in certain parts of my face where I grow a beard. And I think, okay, whatever, it's a pimple. That's a part of my body. Pimples are going to come and go. It's normal. That's neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. And then there's the positive way of doing it. Sometimes people have a hard time looking at themselves and thinking nice things about themselves. But if you try to find positive things like, okay, here's what I like. Maybe you like your hair. Maybe you like the way your body is shaped. Maybe you like your nose or eyes. And that can be helpful instead of focusing on negative things like, I have to change this, I have to do that. And that can be helpful too whenever people around you are always trying to tell you this needs to change, this needs to change. all the time, because we can't force other people to change. We can't control them, but we can, control more what we do with ourselves. And speaking of controlling or, doing stuff for ourselves, one of the big things that I do with my clients whenever they ask me questions, because I'm autistic, and a lot of my clients actually also um, are on the autism spectrum too, and some of them also have, mental health concerns where they will have low mood and things like that. So I will tell them something that helps is having values in life, something that no matter what happens in life, whether you have family members in your life, like mom or dad taking care of you or not, whether you have a job, whether you have a stable home or any of those things, because some of my clients don't. They just don't have that. Maybe they are like living in transitional living or something, or a shelter. Something that I say is it's good to have values that you can always live up to no matter what happens in life. And an example is like, I want to be a good person. So no matter what happens to you, you can always think of a way, if you're going about in life, that, okay, what can I do right now that I can be a good person right now? And then it can make you feel good if that's what you want your value to be. And for me, I like, I want to be a good mentor, or I want to be a good teacher. They're kind of the same thing. I'm not actually a teacher right now. I'm a supervisor, but you can always be a teacher. You can always teach someone something. So I like doing that. And so that's a value that I have, and I enjoy it, and it makes me feel good. So that's something to think about. And it helps when people are feeling depressed or anxious, or like, I don't know what's going on in my life and stuff like that. And it's also doesn't have to be related to a job or anything. My job, even though it's nice, I like my job. It's not related to the like my biggest passions ever in life. Like, it doesn't have to be. That everyone can have values where I have a job right now that is cool, but my values are this. And then we can do things that lead up to our values and have goals for them. And that keeps us going forward in life, and that takes care of us. Um, I think the last couple of things I want to mention before we go to our resources is that it's important to have a support system. And this is something that a lot of LGBT people struggle to have, not just because of, mostly because we often lose our first support system, and that's um, our family of origin, or like, either the family that we're blood related to, or that adopted us, or whatever, um, because of our identity. For me, for example, I'm not close to my blood family at all. They're not my support system, but I do have a support system, and that's, I mean, I live with them. That's my chosen family. And so it is important to have a support system. There's people who aren't LGBT and they are not disabled, and they have a support system. So, people who, most of the time, for example, when someone wants to have children, it would be very hard to have children. And a lot of people have unfortunately experienced this too. It would be very hard to have children without at least one other person to help them. But most people, they might have, you know, if they might have a partner, but they also probably have like a parent or two, maybe grandparents, maybe sibling or something or other, and that counts as a support system. Maybe they have friends. I don't know. So that might be a support system for you. Maybe support system for you is care providers. If you are a consumer, maybe you do have family members. Maybe you have chosen family, or you have friends. It can look like a lot of different things. Maybe you want to build a new support system if you feel like the one you have right now isn't helping you a lot, because the best one is one where you can feel like you can be really true to yourself and show who you are, and they will accept that and actually take care of you, and then you can look out for each other. Because I have my fiance and we have our best friend, and we look out for each other. And of course, my fiance, we're in a relationship. He knows everything about me, but he has to accept that I'm autistic. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So because he accepts that, and he likes that, fine, because that's part of who I am, then it works out perfectly for us. And then I take care of him the way that I take care of him. We look out for each other. So it's important to have a support system that accepts all of you, so that you can take on the world altogether, all the people in your system. So I think that that's probably that for the kind of tools that there are. I think the very last thing I want to say um, on those things is just really quickly to remember that if anything, tragic or terrible happens in your life, whether you are LGBT or not, whether you are disabled or you have a disability or not, just remember it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility to figure out, why did that happen? Is it my fault? Is this? It's none of that. The only thing to worry about really is, okay, so how do I take care of myself? And then who should I have around me that will take care of me and help me? That's kind of the most important thing to figure out, so that we can overcome the challenges in life. And then for our caregivers, um, as far as the caregivers go, as also having a lot of challenges too, because people are always throwing prejudices at us, at you, and got your own struggles as well. So just always kind of staying true to what you know, and keep learning. And even if you're not LGBT or you don't have a disability, everyone has their own things going on in their life, and to remember it wasn't your fault, and to remember to take care of yourself and to do what you need to do that, and to have the people that you need to support you. And so that's what I wanted to say on that. And I think it would be good to see what kind of resources there are to try to help support that cause.
All right, thank you so much, Arcaz. I'm going to go ahead and provide a little information about myself, and we'll go into the resources and then our question and answer session. All right, so once again, my name is Javier Zepeda. I'm the LGBTQ plus specialist, part of the DEIB team, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. And I service all three valleys, the San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita Valley, and the Antelope Valley. And as a LGBTQ plus specialist, I provide direct services to LGBTQ plus consumers of North Los Angeles County Regional Center. And the goal is to affirm LGBTQ plus identities. And services include education, consultations, linkage to care and resources. And I also support consumers and families through the coming out process. I've provided my contact information for you, my telephone number and my email address, as well as my office hours. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns regarding LGBTQ plus, or for a consult, or access to resources as well. Speaking of resources, we'll move on to our resources. And I want to note that a list of these resources is gonna be provided in the chat section, as well as our link to our website that has a copy of our PowerPoint presentation. And then here are just some resources for the San Fernando Valley. Once again, you can access those resources in our chat. And we have some as well for the Santa Clarita Valley and Antelope Valley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Venus Corsani. I'm the Community Services Manager. Pleasure to have each and every one of you here today, and a happy New Year. I would like to introduce Mr. David Emchart, who is with Serenitas and will be providing a presentation on special needs planning. David, take it away.
Thank you very much for having me today. This is really valuable information for all of you. These are issues that you end up facing on a day-to-day basis. My name is David Turk. I'm the Executive Director of Serenitas Special Needs Planning. We provide comprehensive planning exclusively to the special needs community. I'm going to give a brief overview so that it rings a bell, and then I'm going to specifically be focusing on government benefits today. All right, so special needs planning addresses 4 areas of life that affect anyone living with special needs. One is legal planning, which needs to be properly done, creating the proper documents, including a special needs trust to assure a smooth transition, security, and quality of life. That will allow for, number 2, government benefit coordination, identifying what benefits we qualify for. How do we qualify, maintain, and maximize those benefits throughout life without interruption? That dovetails with budget and financial planning. How much will my loved one need on a day-to-day basis when mom and dad are not there? That single point right there is one single sentence, but is really overlooked by most families in actually associating a day-to-day life plan with their overall planning. And then finally, there's lifestyle planning, which is as or more important than any of the dry technical things like the legal planning and the financial and the government benefits. This is about who your loved one is. What makes a good day versus a bad day? Is it buttons or zippers? Is it scrambled or fried? What are we able to do for ourselves, and what do we need assistance with? Who are our caregivers, doctors, teachers, counselors, etc.? All these things, so much of which we as parents take for granted because we're just trying to get through our day. We know what our child's trying to say, even if it isn't verbal. We know what that look means. But imagine if you weren't there, how important communicating that to current and future caregivers is. Okay? All of this, when we talk about it all together, this is like 3 hours of talking. We're just going to focus in on the government benefits today. But please keep in mind that planning is comprehensive, and an individual needs all of these elements supported. If you think of them as the center of a wheel, and these are all the spokes that support it, keep it in mind as you work with these families on a day-to-day basis and often hear these problems. Know that there are actually solutions out there to many of the problems that you hear. Okay. By doing proper planning, it will empower our families with the information and confidence to interact with Social Security. That is one of the most stressful things to prepare for, that every family that we work with ends up having to do. It's also very hard to get straight information. So once that they are able to understand clearly what is needed and what pitfalls might be ahead of them, it's much easier to handle that and avoid those pitfalls. So again, by doing proper planning, that will give us the confidence to work with Social Security and achieve what we need to, which is to be able to receive the benefits that we're entitled to, period. It will also allow that plan to be reviewed by Social Security now while you're alive, rather than after the fact when nothing can be changed. And this, of course, will give you peace of mind, knowing rather than hoping that you have a plan that will work now and in the future. Okay. Again, I'm not going to belabor the issue, just want the top level information, but you do need to know, this is crucially important. There are different types of special needs trusts for different circumstances. It is not a one size fits all. You may not have known that there are actually different types of special needs trusts. I'm not going to go into each and every one. Regardless of the type, a properly drafted special needs trust will allow what we talked about, your loved one to be able to qualify, maintain, and maximize the government benefits that they are entitled to. Okay, jot your questions down as we go. Okay, there are a number of different benefits available that will happen at different milestones in life. So as you all know, SSI is the first benefit available to individuals. We are talking when they become adults. We are not talking about as a family unit, but when an individual becomes 18, they are an adult regardless of disability. There is no asterisk in the Constitution that says a person living with a disability isn't a full adult. Now, of course, as an aside, if parents do want to be able to maintain parental rights, and that is important for the child, that is where in California conservatorship would come into play and be petitioned for. Okay, so SSI is the first benefit that one would become eligible for at age 18. Anyone receiving $1 of SSI automatically receives Medicaid, or in California, Medi-Cal. Okay, the current California maximum, the numbers have changed slightly. Oh, actually, I think I'm going to go into it on the next page. SSA is survivor retirement benefit. When a parent retires or passes away, retires or becomes disabled or passes away, then that child will migrate to the survivor benefit SSA. Also, that's what as parents, that's the Social Security withholdings. Okay, there are different rules associated with each of these benefits. SSDI is available for anyone who has a work history, has worked 5 of the last 10 years, and has paid 40 quarters of taxes. Okay. Medi-Cal we discussed. Medicare is the retirement and disability provided health care. All right, so now let's dive into the details. These numbers as are of last year, so let's update these numbers. SSI, supplemental security income. Again, typically the first benefit your client will apply, and they have to meet all of these criteria or Social Security will reject them. Currently, 1133 was last year. It is now 1311. Actually 1312 if you round it correctly. So the current California maximum is $1,312 a month. Anyone receiving $1 automatically receives Medi-Cal. And as we've noted before, most individuals with a disability who are clients of Regional Center will receive a waiver to access Medi-Cal prior to age 18. Okay, rules. SSI is the most stringent of the benefits available, which is, it's good to know, and it's good that it's the first one that we achieve that hurdle, because once we have achieved that hurdle and become accepted through SSI, all the doors for all the other benefits open up. Okay. The person must have fewer than $2,000 of assets in their name. Now, this is clearly very little money and is often the single biggest hangup that parents have. Oh, well, you may have well-meaning parents that have saved money for their child, and now that's making them ineligible for benefits. Or a grandparent has, there are all sorts of different reasons why this can happen, but this is the single biggest sticking point for qualifying for SSI benefits. Okay. a note that as of 2024, Medi-Cal, there is no asset threshold for qualifying for Medi-Cal any longer. However, there is still payback to Medi-Cal. So there is, through the estate recovery program of which is required legally through Medi-Cal and Social Security, they are able to recover assets for past services that the client has received. That is also a key consideration. And now, while that client has been able to access those benefits while they're alive, anything left in a special needs trust or coming directly to them could impact their eligibility, and Social Security, Medi-Cal can ask for reimbursement for past services. Okay. If employed, the person must earn less than $1,767 a month to remain eligible. However, keep in mind that if they are earning that much, they are well in excess of what the benefit is providing. Clients should not think that working negatively impacts them financially and certainly, emotionally. Number one, the ability to achieve and accomplish something is invaluable. But also, when you do the math, even though if one is working, even though a Social Security benefit might be reduced, you're also making money from a different pot, and overall, it is more. So that is a common misconception that I hope can be dispelled, that it is encouraged for people to work and earn, and that it does not negatively impact your life. Okay. The other criteria, which is really never an issue with our clients, is that the disability must last longer than 12 months and have been diagnosed prior to age 22. And the calculation, for income and how much a Social Security benefit might be reduced is, as seen at the bottom here. Employment income over 85, the first $85 is a wash, it's not counted. After that, the SSI benefit is reduced by $1 for every $2 earned. Okay. There are many reasons why a family might be receiving less than the maximum. They might be receiving child support, which is considered money coming an asset for the child, which is considered theirs and therefore impacting eligibility for benefits. Same thing as an adoption subsidy or any other Social Security benefits that might be coming in. However, if the child is living at home and disabled, but they're not paying rent, this is the most common reason why a family is receiving a third less than the maximum. So I think it'll be around $925 if it's reduced by a third. But families can and generally should charge their child rent. So here's the scenario here. The problem is, if you ask Social Security how much rent to charge, they'll tell you to divide the number of people living in the home by the total expenses. This amount can easily be over $1,500 a month, which would exceed the person's benefit and be ridiculous. It's also a real pain to have to itemize every expense and divide it by everyone. What they will not tell you is there is a different way to do it. You can simply charge your child rent, and 500 might be a little outdated since we have the numbers have been increased since inflation. So I'd say $500 to $600 is perfectly fine. And that number is chosen because that's about half of the benefit. There are 4 key sentences. I'm happy to provide a sample letter to anyone that will need, but essentially says that my child is a person living with a disability and is an independent person. We are charging $500, $600 per month in rent. This is the same amount we would charge anyone, relative or not, and the funds cannot be returned to the person. And by stringing together these 4 sentences, that is the magic incantation that will allow Social Security to give a family a full benefit rather than a reduced benefit. Now, there are all sorts of ways to manage the money, and I won't go into all of that, but essentially you do have to charge the rent. The money cannot stay with the child, and that will reduce the amount of assets in their account, which also will help keep them eligible for continuing benefits. Okay. As I mentioned before, when one of 3 events happens to a parent, the child will migrate from SSI to SSA benefits: retirement, disability, or passing away. When any of these happens, a child will qualify for a parent's full retirement age benefit under the Disabled Adult Child Program, DAC, okay? When a parent is living, retired, or disabled, the child will receive 50% of that full retirement age benefit. That is in addition to, not taken away from, that parent's benefit. So for instance, let's say a parent has a $3,000 a month benefit. Half of that will be $1,500. That's $4,500 coming into the household per month, not 3 distributed over 2 people. And then that number goes up to 75% for life for that individual when that parent passes away. So that 1,500 becomes 2,250 for life. And of course, that adjusts for inflation as time goes on. I know there will be questions about this, so I'm ready for it. Okay, healthcare benefits. In addition, we already have Medi-Cal, but when we transfer to this Disabled Adult Child Program, we can become eligible for Medicare well before our retirement age, but only 25 months after they start being enrolled in the SSA program, the Parents Retirement Program. So a parent may retire at their normal age, and the child might be in their 30s or 40s. Or 20s, and they can be on Medicare and have Medi-Cal as the payer of last resort for the rest of their life. That is a crucially important and valuable benefit for our families. Okay. Also, a really important note that many families don't know is that their child living with a disability is not kicked off of a parent's insurance at age 26. They are able to stay on that parent's insurance as long as that parent has insurance, okay? Most of the time, we are most familiar with what the conversation has been in the last 10 years of the Affordable Care Act and raising the age of a child to 26 for that purpose. That does not apply to those living with a disability. That law is many decades older, and again, does allow an individual to stay on their parent's insurance. However, it does not happen automatically. So there are many companies that are smaller. They may not have an HR department or have some 22-year-old that's just floated in there and only knows what they know. And they know that this person is 26 and can no longer be on insurance, but doesn't know all of the exceptions to everything. And so I want to inform you so that you can inform families and know, and even if you don't remember exactly, know in the back of your head, oh, wait, there's something about that where you can keep insurance. And so it is actually possible for a child to have 3 levels of insurance. A parent can maintain, they may have a pension and some insurance that private insurance they're able to keep after their working years. And then they can participate in both Medicare and Medi-Cal. We love those situations. Those are fabulous. Okay. Okay, SSDI is available for anyone who is employed for 10 years, pays to Social Security for 40 quarters, and has worked for the last 5 of 10 years. This is not with or without a disability. This is for any individual. We have many families where there are high functioning individuals that have held jobs for 20 years as a bagger at a grocery store, and their individual Social Security benefit was greater than whatever their parents were going to be able to leave them. And this was something that we discovered just going through the planning process, that their kid was not getting the highest benefit that was available to them. So it is absolutely possible, and I want to share that with you. Okay, let the questions begin. We have a wonderful, wonderful book you can download from the resources tab on our website, serenitasSNP.com.